now they're saying they're making it available.
That's and look at this other guy. What's his name? I think it's Japan, or there's a country that banned the use of cell phones by kids, especially in
Yeah,
school. You know,
yeah.
some people came up with that proposal here in the US, but they started, all these legal maneuvers and all that. I doubt it will be successful, you know. So we are
Hmm.
so how to get along with all this? And Fatia is in Cairo in Egypt. So and
Oh, wonderful.
that's
I might be over there in June because I may be making a trip to North Africa and I may be going through Cairo. I might touch base, say hello.
great.
Yeah, should you should. I'm waiting for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because I'm sure with the government in Cairo, they may not have as very wide latitude like other countries as well. So that can also present a challenge, and I imagine what they'll be going through over there. So so do some other African countries. There's this other guy who is going to be joining us from radio Deutsche Welle television from Germany. His name is Robert. Sorry, Robert Cascos. So then the other guy from Kenya as well. So because we wanted to have all these different perspectives from different geographical regions and different types of governments that exist. The other guy is also coming from Nigeria, who is also going to present some perspectives related to Nigeria. Because the only commonality that I see, which is a big challenge, which is because I remember those days in Nigeria, if the military government,
It's
hello,
being recorded.
hi,
Hi, so
Daniel was from he is from Spain. So Roberto Barnes is from Spain. So by the time we look at all this from different angles, we will try to, approximate what is happening around the world. So that's a very good assemblage of people from different regions of the world, cut across different continents. So, and we do hope that we'll have a very productive conversation. Actually, it's 10:01, so let me just start and open the floor so that we can begin to you know chime in one way or the other related to the topic. So today is World Press Freedom Day. This is an annual celebration every May 3rd, in which journalists and public policy experts and scholars gather to discuss issues related to press freedom, the progress made so far, or lack of progress, as the case may be. In most cases, also reporting issues about, deaths of journalists and the safety of journalists around the world and so on. So that was declared in 1993 by United Nations General Assembly to draw attention to some of these issues. And today, it looks like the issues are more critical. And starting from the US, like we said in the concept note, I remember listening to Arthur Sulzberger, the publisher of New York Times, and what he said actually was true because he said sometime that press freedom or media freedom is the greatest export the United States, has for the world. But most people are doubting whether it's true today, especially in the era of Trump. If you follow monitoring events, both the radio, TV, and newspapers are being harassed by Trump. At some point, you remember in his first term, he even said that the media is the enemy of the people. That tells you how, he views journalists. But at the same time, I also think that Trump is a kind of is an interesting paradox because this is a guy who also loves publicity, who loves the media. But the thing is that you have to do it in his own terms. But when you're in public office, it doesn't work that way, you know. So when you're in public office, you don't have um, privacy. So because the media is supposed to be scrutinizing what you're doing on behalf of the people as the last defenders of the common man. So, but beyond the Trump phenomenon, you know, you also have another big elephant there, the AI. which is also playing a very fundamental role in journalism practice today. Yes, it is helping to enhance access to information and the spread of those information. We know that, right? But that also helps in fact-checking, of quickly, unlike in the past, when you have to start there was no cell phones and all that those days. You have to either travel to do some investigation and all that. Today, with AI, you can do effective fact-checking and data visualization. So, and even local and multi-platform adaptation of news or news content is also possible because of AI. But it also presents its own drawback, just like everything in the part all over the world. We see the growing spread of disinformation because of AI. It is across different regions of the world, especially parts of the world that are not excluded from all this digital development, digital innovation and stuff. So we also see it representing itself, helping to spread hate speech online, and some forms of surveillance as well. Because there are some actors, some governments that use AI to survey journalists, to monitor what they're doing. And that's also not good because it's also a part of censorship, because anything that impedes the spread of information, free flow of information, of course, the Article 19 of United Nations Declaration of Human Rights clearly says that people should be free to express their thoughts and beliefs and all that, regardless of frontiers. But today, AI presents a challenge where people filter information to suit their own interests. All these tech companies are also playing a role in how, they skew information to favor one opinion or the other. Of course, some of us are familiar with what happened during the election and all that. So some of these things we want to unpack to look at how to navigate some of these challenges in a manner that the people who created this did not intend to do that. But I also remember that even all the cell phones we were using, I remember in 2004, July, when there was this bombing in Spain, in Madrid, some people use cell phone to manufacture a bomb. And I'm asking myself, did we create cell phone to create bombs? No, obviously no. The manufacturers created this to make life easy, but see where we are, So that's some of the conversation I want us to look at today. So I would like to start this conversation by inviting Professor John Pavlik to chime in.
Well, thank you. This is such a wonderful opportunity. I'm delighted to meet distinguished colleagues, and I look forward to this, this conversation, this dialogue that we're beginning now. And World Press Freedom Day marks such a vital part of civil society, and the press's fourth estate has been undergoing massive disruption for a long time. And as you said, it's partly driven by politics and cultural shifts, but I think technological change has also been a major factor, going back certainly at least to the rise of the internet, and probably before that with other earlier media forms disrupting newspapers and things like that. But now, as you say, with AI, the transformation is taking on a whole new set of challenges. And the potential is, I think, especially great for disruption of free press, because of the fact that the financial underpinnings of so much of journalism have already been substantially eroded. And so the temptation now will be to use AI to perform a lot of the functions that kind of undergird journalism, rather than have humans performing those functions. Especially if you think about, like in the US anyway, private equity firms. They're always looking to buy media properties, extract any value, and then they leave sort of the husk of what was a vibrant news operation behind. And they'll be very tempted to use AI to do a lot of the things that journalists might otherwise have been doing in human form, and now do it with AI. So when I think about AI in the context of press freedom, I really think about it in terms of four broad areas. One is how AI can influence the actual work, the professional practices of journalists. And it can be very helpful, as you say. There's potential to use AI in data journalism and computational journalism. And if AI can be used as an assistant in that way, I think data journalism could really go to whole new levels of impact and very cross-border journalism. And there are a lot of examples one can draw upon where that cross-border journalism could be facilitated by using AI to deal with massive data sets and to extract information and help with, analysis and summarizations, things like that. Something I've been experimenting with recently, though, are the emergence of all of these new smart glasses. I have a pair of the new Meta Ray-Ban AI glasses, and it's really interesting. They work really well in terms of their function. And they're just like a pair of glasses. And mine are the transition, so you can wear them and then you go outside and they're sunglasses. And they can shoot video, capture pictures, anything you're looking at. So for a reporter in the field, all they have to do is look at things, and then it has a speaker and microphone and uses bone conduction audio connected to Wi-Fi or cellular internet, and you just talk to the thing and you can tell it to shoot video or capture pictures, share them, etc. And it can also do translation across languages in real time now in a variety of languages. So there's a lot of potential. On the other hand, there's a real risk. Some students at Harvard put together a project recently where they used these on campus, and then they had an algorithm that could use facial recognition to identify the students that the Meta glasses saw by their face, and then identify who they are, go out and find information available about them at the university and online, and then that could be immediately made available to whoever's in the field with the glasses. So the potential impact on privacy and things like that is really profound and pretty.
LGBT. Let me.
So I see a lot of potential for these, potentially in journalism in a good way, but potential damaging consequences as well. So the first area I would say is that how you do the journalism, the news gathering, the reporting, etc. Second big area would be the content of the news. And Uchenna, you were alluding to misinformation, and AI definitely can fuel that. Disinformation, deep fakes, things like that look real and sound real, but they may be completely fabricated by AI or an AI synthesis with actual images and video. So, but for journalists, there could be ways to use AI to help with creating, say, when you want to illustrate a story and use it, say, a sophisticated graphic or an animation or an immersive form of a story, WebXR, AI can help with that kind of production to create that kind of content. So, there's real potential there. Then at the system level, that's where I would see the regulatory issues really coming into play. And there's so many unresolved issues there for how we can regulate AI and yet make sure that it's not used as a tool against journalists. And then finally, how we engage with the public. I think AI could be very instrumental in facilitating greater engagement between journalism and the public by facilitating dialogue and things of that nature. But it's just such an unsettled area. It's still changing so rapidly. This is not journalism, but I just was looking at the new OpenAI Chat EDU, and they made this available for higher education. And there are already a number of really extraordinary applications of it in medical education and other fields, humanities, etc. And so there's just so much that it's still changing, especially with the new reasoning models. This new system uses OpenAI's GPT-4o, which is a much better version, one of the reasoning models. And we're getting very close to this, kind of artificial general intelligence. And when that comes into play, the impact on journalism could take, this to a whole nother level. So those are some of my initial thoughts on this.
Thank you so much. As a matter of fact, maybe we also try to address the potential for AI to kind of create a homogenization of media platforms around the world, because so that the potential to also reduce pluralism, whereby everyone is watching it may not be healthy as well. So we'll discuss that as we hear from other contributors. Let me invite Fathia, who is also in Cairo. Fathia is one of the journalists who have worked in the most independent newspapers in Cairo. And let's hear from her perspective. Fathia, you have the floor.
First of all, nice to meet you today and World Press Freedom Day. Yeah, I just want to say something about yesterday. It was the World Press Freedom. Yesterday we have an election for the press syndicate in Egypt. And we saw it as an example of free press because at the end we managed to elect the president for the syndicate from the opposition side, not from the government side. That's why we feel that we have some success yesterday in something related to press freedom at the end. So related to AI and press freedom and fake news and misinformations, I think we have the same debate you already have in West, because I always follow what you have in USA or Europe regarding AI or social media. But we still haven't in Egypt regulations related to social media or a regulation related to AI, actually. We tried before to do something related to social media, and they tried it at the parliament to put a regulation that to deal with any account with more than 5,000 followers as a publisher. But it not succeed at all till now. But they try to do this because they feel that social media accounts are playing a role in misinformation. So we will deal it as mass media if they have more than followers than 5,000. We have this discussion all over. In every cases, can we deal with social media as a publisher, as a mass media? Are we going to regulate them or not? But we still have this discussion. Related to AI, as you said before, yeah, it is good for journalists in gathering information, maybe to help to help journalists doing their work fast, accurate. Maybe in data journalism, it is very good. But there is a lot of challenge for me as an editor now. I have a challenge when I receive stories to make sure that this story was made by a journalist, by a real journalist, not an AI, because some journalists are using AI to write the stories, to do all the work they should do. And so that make a problem for us as an editor to fact check the story came to us to make sure that it is a human work, not an AI work. And also we have a case, I want to raise it. 2 days ago, we have a case related to sexual harassment for kids. And it was at the court, and they prevent photo at the court because of this is a kid, 6 years old kid. So we don't want to photo him. But the social media are fueled with a photo for a woman and a child. And all people are resharing this photo as it is the mother and the child of the case. But actually it is an AI photo. But not everyone knowing it is an AI. People are sharing the photo, dealing with it as this is the mother photo, and this is the kid, and this is the case, and actually started criticize media. Why are you take photos for the kid? But it is at the end, it was an AI. So AI is very important, as you said, but we need to regulate it. And this is a very important issue here still in Egypt. We start speaking a lot about regulation for AI, but also about training for journalists how to use AI to be a helpful tool in press.
Thank you so much, Fathia. Good contribution. At least the idea of someone impersonating as a reporter is another challenge from what you're experiencing in Egypt. because even anybody on the street can just pretend that he's a journalist and send the story to you. So, and how do you know that he's a real person who sent the story? I think it's also another challenge, quite frankly. Then of course, the issue of the story you talked about, the rape incident and stuff. So these are challenges, and the progress you guys made yesterday in a tangential way that is also related to freedom, something people didn't enjoy in the past. So that's some little progress right there. If I don't know whether Dim Martin, I saw him here. If he's on, we can have him. Otherwise, Francisco Bozano, if you want to chime in, you can unmute yourself. Francisco, unmute yourself.
I'm just trying to buy it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello? Okay, good. Well, I've been involved with CNPI for a number of years when I was living in New York. Now I'm living in Spain, and I'm involved in something called reliance. I'm in the northern part of Spain, and my background is economic economics,
You're not
and sorry.
you're not very clear. It's kind of
Oh, I'm not. It sounds like that.
the audio is not very well.
Okay, let me talk later. Let's see if it gets better.
Okay, well,
It's probably because it's very close.
wow.
Well, there might be a technical problem right now. So continue. Go ahead. Go ahead.
An echo. Okay, so let's come back to John while we are waiting for Vim Martin to come back. So, John, from your own experience, from what you're also learning from AI, so the likelihood of having a global media system, that's another challenge that AI could bring about, in which case there's going to be a lack of pluralism, whereby the same thing is dished to and reduce multiple perspectives on issues, even cultural perspectives. So how would you assess that potential? Because there's a growing concern actually that AI might contribute to the homogenization of the global media landscape. So it could also present some challenges, in terms of reducing diversity in perspectives, media pluralism, and marginalizing smaller outlets, because a lot of small outlets, especially the local news platforms, may not have any place anymore if AI dominates. Like if I've traveled around the world and see how, for example, even YouTube is dominant. Most people don't even access their TV stations through local cable channels and all that. Everyone goes through YouTube, and it's dominating everywhere. So what are your perspectives on that?
Well, I think that we're already having that increasing homogeneity without AI. I think that because of the erosion of funding for media, that we're seeing that already. And then the decline in newspapers, printed newspapers, they used to really be committed to having a range of perspectives. And one of the things that people most liked about a newspaper reading experience was they call it the aha moment, or you'd browse the newspaper and you'd see a story that, oh, wow, I didn't know that, and you get that real value. And newspapers were the foundation of sort of the news ecosystem, so that they would introduce the stories and then they would be, retold in other media forms. I posted something in the chat, this news by AI. It's a website that looks like real human journalism, but it's totally by AI. And on it says it's by AI. So it's examples of what you're talking about, though, Jenna, with I think news by AI will very much be increasingly just generic, homogeneous, grabbing from what's on the internet and then putting it into a form that is easily digestible. So I think that's very likely. Now, we do have this polarized media system, though, so you may have it on the right or on the left, and within each domain, there's a lot of homogeneity, but it might be that there's two different worlds, and they may have different worldviews, and you might get a very different take on things. If you're getting it, the same stories told from the right might have a very different spin than the same stories told from the left. You know, for just to illustrate, let's say we're talking about climate change, how that might be reported on one side versus the other might be very different. Or public health. You know, in the US, we have this huge debate now about, you know, with RFK Jr., a vaccine, you know, skeptic running the health system now in the US at the federal level. There's so much happening. And so how we understand and tell the story, the narrative, will be very different. I think AI could play a huge role in that because, as Fatima was saying, you'll get stuff that AI creates that'll look totally authentic and may read perfectly. The grammar may be perfect. It may conform to the journalistic norms of the 5 Ws. It may be very well constructed, but in there you won't be able to tell where there's one little fact that's been twisted or turned to, you know, advance a different narrative. So the whole thing might look legitimate, but when you come away from it, you may be misled because there's one little thing in there that is the piece that's changing the narrative. And so that's part of my worry. Yuchen, I totally agree that we may move toward more homogeneous because we already are, and AI may fuel it, but it may be a polarized homogeneity. And then the same stories may be told, but they may be told putting a different spin on those stories, say health, climate, politics, cultural, you know, identity, you know, all of those kind of things. So those are some of my thoughts on that.
Sure. I again also, while we're also discussing about these AI challenges, we'll probably come back to that, you know, and also look at how it's also helping to promote media and information literacy skills that strengthens critical thinking. But let's even look at what's happening at the United States, because whatever happens in the United States do have some reverberations around the world. And Fathia, from what's going on in Egypt, is there a fear that would be, quote unquote, certain decline of media freedom in the United States, that you guys are even in a worse situation from what it was in the past, where you could look up to U.S. Embassy to protect you from the ravages of the leaders over there? So, because I imagine it's also happening in other countries, and even the potential for some leaders, especially in Africa and the global South, to look up to United States and say, oh, if United States is doing this and that, you know, why wouldn't do? I mean, it's not a problem. So, and when you finish assessing that, I also like to ask John, you know, looking forward, where are we headed in the United States? Congress don't seem to be active in terms of dealing with some of these issues. Is it likely that things will really change for real in a situation where we are like developing what happens in developing countries? I remember sometime in the 90s where in Malawi, it was a crime for a journalist to mention the age of the president, you know. So I don't know where we're headed to. So I'll yield the floor to Fathia.
Tough questions. Okay. Actually, yeah, the dealing with the USA as America as an example for freedom, for human rights, it's have a questionable after, especially after war in Gaza, in all Arab world. Actually, not just with Trump. With Trump, would have more issues, but from the war on Gaza, we start questioning the example of freedom or human rights from the US. Before, we used to say, look what happened in USA dealing like this with we are maybe asking help, that as you said, we are maybe asking for support and freedom and human rights and women's rights and girls' rights and everything. But after we start saying it is double standard in some issues, so we don't understand where is U.S. freedom is. Where is this example? We are speaking a lot about it, and in media exactly, and free press now. What we said, then we saw from Trump, and we saw before during Gaza, actually, because how they deal with the victims from the Israeli side and how we deal with the victims from Palestinian sides. So we have a lot of questions in Egypt, and we have made, there is a lot of conferences in Egypt and all over our Arab countries discussing the media and the double standards, even the media, how the influence of politics on media and media freedom is media should be biased or objective when it is related to issue like this, like war, like issues related to your to humanity. Where is the standards? Where is the ethics here? So actually, yeah, you know, I don't know if you have this example. We have in Egypt after 2011, not after 2011 exactly, but after 2014, starting speaking about something is they called patriot journalism. I don't know what patriot media, if you have this something like this, but we start with you need to be patriot on media. You need to defend your country. So we actually always say that we are not, yani, I don't know, say I'm not patriot. I'm patriot as a person, but that is when related to media, I am a journalist, so I need to do my work in a professional way. When we saw what happened in US now, we started a discussion. We have this discussion. What's the meaning of patriot? Do you have this kind of patriot media in the US? The media are defending the president, defending the America to be big again or something. So yani, I think we have many questions now. The example of US and the example of the West actually is the example now for press freedom, for human rights freedom, for everything. Questioning everything. Thank you. I leave the floor.
Okay, Paco, I think you probably may have to remove try and see if it would be better for you to just use audio instead of video.
Can you hear me now? No. Okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah,
Go to chat. I have sent information on chat. Chat. Sure.
It's better because we don't hear you actually.
Okay, I've muted him. So Vim Martin is from Nigeria. So he is the chairman and chief executive of Signature Television Network in Nigeria. So he is going to speak on issues about the press freedom. He's been listening, but I think he just branched out now. So you have the floor. Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
So the last question. Well,
Thank you, Uche.
Thank you so much. I was just introducing you. So the lady from Egypt, because we're looking at issues related to media freedom in the context of what's going on in the United States, the quote unquote, the decline of media freedom in the United States, and what the potential for most copycats leaders in Africa and the global South to say, okay, if what's going on in the US could happen here, why not us? That, in other words, it's kind of a good thing. So, and could you assess the state of media freedom in the...
Prof, I don't know if you can hear me. I can hardly hear you. I can't hear you.
I can hear you very well. We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me clearly?
Yes.
I don't know why I cannot hear you.
So then talk to us about the state of media freedom in Nigeria and the fears that... Can you hear us? Hello?
Just hold on. Let me do away with the earphones. I don't know what that's the problem. Go ahead. Let me see if I can hear you without the headphones.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I think I can hear you a little bit. Let's go ahead.
Can you hear us now? You can hear me?
I hear you a little bit. I can't hear you clearly.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I want you to discuss the state of media freedom in Nigeria, especially in respect of what's going on in the United States, the fears that perhaps protection of journalists may not be as... So go ahead and speak.
So I should speak about media freedom in Nigeria.
Yes.
Okay. I must thank CPMI for creating this avenue for us to interact and talk about how the media has progressed all these years. Well, in Nigeria, I must say that we have this feeling that journalists in Nigeria are enjoying a high level of press freedom. That is not to say that there are no impediments to our work. There are impediments. Of course, there are isolated cases of people in authority trying to muscle the media. In the recent past, you would have heard about people, especially for those that are in the social media and the online media. A lot of them have run into trouble with individuals and individual political office holders and people at a high place. We've had incidences in the last 1 to 2 years of people who have ended up in prison or in detention because they use the social media to express themselves. And sometimes what they do is that they are reporting what has happened, but in the understanding of those of them that are in power, they think that that their rights have been infringed. And the most popular part of it is what they call now, the police call social media stalking, which they have collapsed everything about social media under. Because as we speak in Nigeria, there is still no clear laws on the regulation of the social media or regulation of AI or regulation of online activity. So we still see this lacuna, especially with the police and security agencies, either bringing in, taking journalists in and claiming that they had done one thing or the other in the social media. We've also had cases, at least I remember 1 or 2 cases, where state governors have gone ahead to cause the detention of journalists because of their reporting. But I must say that in Nigeria, it's not something you see happen every day. I'm a journalist, I'm practicing. I am also a daily news anchor. And we come up with special reports. We come up with special interviews. And we come up with a lot of investigative reports. Well, maybe nobody has come to arrest or detain. But what I also have noticed is that as much as we are not like in other countries where expressly a journalist is arrested because of a report, there are other ways those in authority try to do it. Let me give you an example. We did a story on the takeover of police barracks in Nigeria by some police officials and some businessmen. They converted those police property to private use, where they built housing estates and sold to people that had nothing to do with the police. For instance, we did a report, and it was a joint report between Signature Television and two other organizations, news organizations in Nigeria. So the kind of harassment you have is that after we published that report, they took us to court, because they know that a lot of media houses in Nigeria are not very liquid, that they are more interested in looking for money to get their stories and publish their stories. So what they do is that they take you to court and then tie you in court. You spend a lot of money trying to extricate yourself and the organization. That's the kind of inhibitions we see. The other one we see is that when you have done an investigative report that is published and it gains a lot of traction in the media and in the political space and in public opinion, the next thing they do is that those in authority stall. They are not going to deny that, to say that what you have said is not true, but they will use every other avenue to make sure that they suppress that story, either by bribing people or for newspapers. What we have seen here, you find out that you wake up one morning, one person buys up all your publication because they don't want other people to see that story. So what I'm saying in Nigeria is that we don't have that kind of open suppression of the media. Yes, isolated cases of people being arrested, but there are other ways that people in authority do it. They make sure that you don't have access to the information you need, even when you bring in the Freedom to Information, FOI, which is a law in Nigeria that gives journalists opportunity and rights to get information from organizations. Even when you activate that law, you will still see that those in authority make it impossible for the journalists to get information. They frustrate every effort for you to do your job well. And I think that too is a kind of suppression that makes practice of journalism very, very difficult.
Absolutely. I think because when we're talking about media freedom, it's not just a matter of maybe arresting or attacking journalists or killing them. There are other forms of subtle, challenge reporters face around the world, like even the issue of denying some private entities like Signature Television, adverts from government. That's also another way of, and like what you just talked about, putting you in court. And because somehow most of them are able to control the justices and all that, they can keep you running around there, spending your money, spending your money, and with little resources that you have, you spend a lot of money on doing that, So, and I think John just brought an interesting stuff, but I want him to elaborate on that. John, you have the floor.
Well, I was just thinking, we have the same sort of thing that your colleague Signature TV was describing, where government officials, take steps to intimidate journalism or to make it very problematic or difficult, threatening them with different things. But we also have stuff that's more like from private citizens who have wealth, because we have this, they're describing it kind of as the oligarchy, people with extreme wealth, and to them, they have a fleet of lawyers who are on retainer that costs them nothing to take legal action. So they will use these slaps or strategic legal action against public participation lawsuits just to harass and intimidate journalists. And they know you don't have resources. They know you don't have like a fleet of lawyers who are on retainer. So they tie you up in the courts with these lawsuits that allege you've defamed them or you violated their rights in some fashion, and they just try to keep local news media or local journalists so tied up with fighting these legal suits that they don't have time to do journalism. So that's another strategy that's been utilized pretty widely in the U.S.
That's true. I think there's a lawsuit. I think Trump, slammed on ABC or something like that recently. So I think it's a thing like that. But if Vin Martin is still with us, I want you to also look at the impact of AI in journalism practice in Nigeria, especially in the context of Nigeria not being so much, don't have so much digital presence, sort of, especially within the rural areas. And I don't know whether he's still with us. I still see him there.
I'm with you. Uchenna. I'm with you. There's no doubt that.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So I said I am with you. Even without the digital penetration you're talking about, one of the biggest challenges we have today in the media is fake news. There's a lot of fake news, and because of the level of enlightenment back home, you find out that a lot of stories are AI generated, where if you're not careful, even as a journalist, if you're not careful, you would be deceived. So we have situations where AI generated news content, fake news content, is distributed, and because of level of enlightenment and education, and level of knowledge in terms of AI, digital, online, and all that, a lot of people believe it hook and sinker. And then a number of our colleagues who are not interested, because the first law of journalism is if you're not sure, leave out. They teach you that in basic journalism. But a lot of our people are faced with a challenge I describe as the citizen journalist competition. The citizen journalists that are scattered everywhere on the internet, online, and what have you. They just see a story like this AI-generated stories. They'll throw it in there. They don't want to check it out. They don't investigate it. They don't interrogate it. So you find out that a lot of the mainstream practitioners are also falling into that trap, because sometimes there's this unnecessary competition between the mainline journalists or traditional journalists and those that are operating as citizen journalists or social media journalists or whatever you call them. So the AI thing is something that can go two ways. I must tell you that for me as a journalist, there are times I'm even in doubt about some things. I use AI, and AI can help and assist you even getting the kind of information that will tell you that this is not true, this is not working. But if you're also not abreast with this trend today, it's also
This meeting is being recorded.
to be sure of whatever we are doing. We need to fact check, you know, because AI can generate stuff for you that, except you are dexterous in this business, you can't differentiate between what AI has done and what is the truth. And in these days of alternate truth and alternate reality, as pushed by the President of the United States and people like him across the world, I think that it's even a time that the traditional journalist has to be a little more careful, because everyone is interested in leaving information in the public space. It's either it's the truth, or it's their own reality or their own truth, or it is plain false. But they are interested in putting something in that space. So which makes our job is even more difficult. I think that the way out for us, especially with AI, is that we have to be more circumspect. We need to be more careful. We need to check out our facts. We need to, you know, we need to interrogate the stories that we publish. We need to interrogate, you know, for those of us that are into investigative journalism, a lot of the information you get comes from ordinary people. And they give you this information sometimes to achieve their own goal or to achieve their own objective or aim. So we need to look at it again. We need to be careful. We need to interrogate it. We need to fact check. We need to do everything that we need to do, because at the end of the day, whether it's in America, whether it's in Nigeria, whether it's in Egypt or anywhere, you find out that when a lot of people see stuff on the internet or see stuff on social media, the next thing they do is to go to the traditional media. They go to CNN, they go to AP, they go to any of the more established news organizations. In Nigeria, they go to organizations like Signature TV, they go to NTA, they go to AIT just to authenticate it, because they still know that those of us in the traditional media, those of us in the mainstream media, that we operate with norms, we operate with regulations, and that we do everything we can to ensure that what is served to the people is the truth. So that gives us more job to ensure that we don't disappoint all those who believe that the traditional media, the mainstream media, is still where you can get the fact.
Okay, quickly, now that you talked about relying on some other organizations around the world, could you speak to your experience in relation to how AI has the potential to encourage global cooperation for journalists' safety around the world? Hello? Okay, I think you.
Well, if I look at where I am operating from, I believe that there's a lot of positive things that may come out from AI for a lot of journalists. When you talk about safety of journalists, honestly, I am not sure I know how AI can do that. But if you're talking about collaboration among journalists, I know that there's so much we can do with AI. There's no doubt that AI has made our life easier. You know, there's no doubt that it has made our life easier. It is a tool for me, and I'll say it anytime, any day, that is two-pronged. It's either it's giving you the positives or it's giving you the negative. Because AI, with all its potentials, with all its good sides, is still something that a human being makes work for he or she better. It is how you use it. It's there. Even those that are behind it, it's still a human being saying, you must go in this direction. So I also believe that for us as journalists, we determine how we want to use AI to help what we do. Sincerely, I don't know how, I don't know, or I have not experienced AI enhancing safety for journalists. I don't know. I don't know. I've not experienced it. I'm not saying it's not possible. But for me, I think that AI has made our job easier. When you sit down as an editor, there's all the rigors we used to go through before. There's a lot of it that AI has minimized. But I continue to say, and this is what I say to my team members, and what I say to the young journalists that I mentor and teach, is that AI will work with you, not for you. AI will work with you, not for you. You know, AI is like a bull in a China shop. Okay, if you don't restrict it, if you don't use it for the right reasons, it may get you into trouble. It will work with you. It will never work for you.
Okay. John, previously we were talking about how media freedom was, or should I say, probably is still the greatest export of United States to the world. In your assessment, would you think that this is still true today, especially in the context of, like I said earlier, the prospect of some dictators, especially in the global South, trying to copy what's going on in the United States? What's your assessment?
Okay,
John?
I believe that I heard you correctly with what is happening in the United States. What is my assessment of how it becomes a learning curve of whether it's positive or negative for the rest of the world? Is that what you asked me?
Yes.
Okay, I think that what we have seen in the last couple of months, and let's be specific about this, let's not make it ambiguous. What we have seen since Trump took over power is really shocking. I mean, for us, America is the bastion of democracy. If you look, if you do a kind of statistics and check how many African countries, for instance, are democratic, you'll find out that a majority of those African countries are following the presidential system of government. It is American, and for a lot of people in developing countries, they see America as where you go to learn, you know, where the institutions are strong. You know, I was part of a paper that talked about the principal agent theory in terms of leadership and development. You know, you remember the principal agent theory, the relationship between the leader and the relationship between the leader and the citizens who are the principals. You find out that what is happening in the United States is actually not showing that the people that are leading see themselves as agents of the citizens who are the principals who vote them to power. And you see a situation where, for instance, this morning I was watching NBC News, and I think Trump was at the university yesterday, and he was really stressing to them that, look, every single thing I have done since I came to power were the things I told Americans I was going to do, you know, and I had talked about it and all that. So just look at those that are trying to connect with Trump since he came to power and started. Look at the man in El Salvador, for instance. Those are the people that are connecting with Trump. They feel that, look, he's now our poster boy. That the impression is that the citizens know this little and that the leadership knows this much. And, you know, the leaders are the pathfinder. Yes, a leader is a pathfinder. You make people do what you think is right and they follow you and all that. But I think that since Trump took power, a lot of people are looking at democracy with a different eye. And let me say something. I was also at a discussion where the topic was what is democracy? By the time we left that discussion, people started saying things like, democracy is not a one-size-fits-all. If what is happening in America can happen in America, then it means that in Nigeria, we should have our own homegrown democracy that suits the leader, what the leader wants to do and how he wants to do it. And a lot of times in developing countries and Africa, some leaders want to do some extremist things that are negative, that are not in the people's interest. They are afraid of what America will do. Oh, if we do this, America may get involved, because they see America as the policeman, the defender, and the shining armor of democracy across the world. So in summary, I think that what is happening in the United States, the abuse of public institutions, the abuse of the judiciary, the abuse of citizens. I mean, here you are, you take a man, you say you made a mistake in taking to El Salvador, and the judge gives a ruling that you must bring this guy back. And you say it's not possible. Then we saw the other one the other day. A judge is being arrested because according to them, he helped somebody escape from justice. These were things we never saw in the United States. And I don't think it's, oh my God.
I know, maybe we lost him. All right. John, please, can you chime in on this topic as well?
Yeah, I mean, he was making excellent points, and I agree entirely with what he said. Something that I would tie back in, though, is what you were saying earlier, Uchenna, about the U.S. kind of withdrawing a bit from the world in terms of its political engagement and helping the marginalized people of the world and providing aid and a whole variety of things. I was recently at the invitation of the U.S. State Department in Bulgaria and in Macedonia, and I was talking about the value of journalism and journalism education and the impact of AI. And I met so many people who were journalists or students who said they just love the support that the U.S. has provided for them to be able to develop their own homegrown journalism and media system and all of that. And so I saw for myself firsthand, of course, just two countries, but tremendous benefit of the U.S.'s engagement over the years in those countries in this way. And so I know that there will be a huge loss as the U.S. withdraws from the world. And I'm confident that there'll be opportunities for other countries to step in. And I'm confident China, for example, will step in. They already are in many, I think, African countries and Latin American countries and elsewhere. They've already stepped in to invest and to support. And so the U.S. may withdraw, but that won't just be a whole. There'll be other countries, probably China and maybe others, that will step in to fill the void left behind. And so I think we may see a shifting terrain that way too. There's been a lot of tension about what will be the funding for, say, or the support to continue things like Radio Free Europe, or in the US, the public media like NPR or PBS. And they politicized even things like Sesame Street, the children's educational show that research has shown has tremendous benefits for kids of all ages. And they want to get rid of that because one of the birds might be gay. I mean, it's like unbelievable stuff that upsets the right. And so I agree totally, but would add that there's other aspects to this problem too that will mean a shifting form of public engagement around the world from, say, the U.S. or a model that would have advanced kind of, go back to something you said earlier, Uchenna. What I think Trump hates the most is independent. He's all for, say, Fox journalism, where, if you want to call it journalism, where they agree with everything he says for the most part. But what he doesn't like is when it's independent journalism. I saw a reporter from NBC asking him about, well, okay, you've said we're going to have like the golden age of of America. We're going to have this great economic advance, but when are we going to? This is going to happen? And he said, and he would just completely not answer that part of the question. He would just say, no, we're going to have this, and he just wouldn't. Yeah, he won't be. He's not comfortable with independent journalists. And then he's taken a lot of actions, say in the White House, to banish, say, the Associated Press and to try to control any form of or any semblance of independent journalism operating in his sphere. So that's another part of it that's happening. That's maybe not impacted by AI, but it's definitely part of the political process that's trying to control or constrain independent journalism.
Actually, there's a point you made that, well, in economic matters, yes, China could step in, like they're already doing in African countries, but I'm not sure China would be a good template for any form of media freedom. So how that happens is what I don't know. So the capacity of the United States in relation to media freedom is probably unsurmounted by any other part of any other country. So it's still a big challenge, except perhaps the only consolation at the end of the day, his term will, finish, and somehow perhaps someone with better appreciation of media freedom could step in. Other than that, I'm not sure. Any day he will change his posture. And Fatia, if you remember, in just still the first time of Trump, when this guy was killed, Khashoggi, and even CIA confirmed that it was Saudi Arabia that did it, and Trump then did not agree with that, and nothing happened out of it, because this is something perhaps like V. Martin was trying to explain the other time. These are things that people look up to the United States, come and defend journalists. Even like in Nigeria during the military regime, any interference by the military against the media, they always report, you just run to the embassy of the United States, you're protected. But I'm not sure whether it's still the same thing today. And with President Sisi in Egypt, can you describe the scenario in terms of the extent to which you, practitioners like you, are able to, get to do your job in relation to what's going on here?
First of all, related to Sisi, and I said, I think before with you in conference before, something related to the press freedom and how we fight as independent, as I work for an independent newspaper, for more freedom. I started working for Al-Masri Al-Yawm as the first independent newspaper in Egypt in 2004. Before Al-Masri Al-Yawm, the newspaper in Egypt was, even it is owned by the government or owned by parties. But from 2004, the government during Mubarak era allowed the companies of Egyptian people to issue a newspaper. So I worked for Al-Masri Al-Yawm as the first independent newspaper at this time. It is not owned by government. It is not owned by parties. So it is not the opposition side or not the loyal side for the government. And we are fighting for more freedom every time. So usually we said we are pushing the seal until we get an open window. But after 2011, after the revolution in 2011, we pushed the seal for the maximum. So we opened the huge window, and we have this kind of chaos freedom, freedom of everybody. You publish everything, and we at this time, because newspaper, we lose our credibility, because we lose our objectivity at the beginning, because we take the side of the revolution. We need to defend the revolution. We just forget that our job is to be professional journalists, just write about what happened. No, we need to defend the new system, the new revolution, the everything. So after a while, what happened with the Muslim Brotherhood and terrorism and everything, so this kind of freedom are shrinking more and more and more. Now we are under the ground, actually. Sorry. It is yeah, we usually use you asked before about America. We usually use America and the West as an example. We need to push. We need an independent newspaper, an independent media like what you have in America, what you have in what people have in Europe. We need this kind of freedom. We are still asking for this freedom, but when what happened now from Trump administration regarding independent media, actually, when you try to see how they interpret it here in Egypt, the media owned by the government in Egypt are usually use this example. Look what happened in USA. Look what Trump did to independent media. This is the example you are looking for. So we lose the example, so we lose the support. But we're still fighting for more freedom. We still have a few independent media outlets. Try to open some windows. Most of them are not licensed. Yani Al-Masr اليوم, as I told you, it is licensed before because it is from 2004, but it is now it is mainly more in the government side because they cannot do what we used to do before. But there is a new independent website, but because of the government laws, they cannot get the license to be regulated newspapers. So they did have the license, but we're still working. So I'm working for a website now called Al Manassa. It is an independent news website in Egypt. We tried around 2 years ago to get licensed in Egypt and to be regulated as a newspaper and news website, but we don't have it till now. And this regulations they can use it anytime to say that we are not regulated newspaper. They can shut the website anytime they want.
Right,
so we're still fighting for freedom, even with AI.
I'm going to invite Francisco Lozano Burns. He is in Madrid, Spain, and I guess he must have fixed his audio. Francisco, you have the floor. We can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're not hearing you. This is tough.
I don't hear him. Oh, okay.
Francisco, they can't hear you. Can you ask? Damn. We can see you, but we can't hear you. We can see you clearly, but we cannot hear you. Hi. Wow. But can you hear us? But we can't hear you. I don't know.
Maybe there's some sort of an AI that is taking control of Paco's audio.
Maybe. All right. So maybe
You silenced me.
no, you are on. No, I did not. You can talk now. It was What's the problem? It's technology. There's something you should do on your computer. Oh my God. Okay. I think let's go ahead. Because of time, I really appreciate the time all of us have spent discussing this matter. Let me invite all of you. I mean, let's start from John. Okay. All right. Some passing shots and okay, yeah. Okay. So as we round up this conversation, because I know this is Saturday, some of you may have some private things to do. I've really enjoyed the different perspectives that we have shared in evaluating the state of media freedom from across the world. And we're actually well represented. The guy from Deutsche Welle television, it looks like he's here. So I will have also to get some person from him and Dr. Munda. So, please, can you make some, can you wrap up some ideas, some of the ideas we've shared here as we wind down? I will also get to Vim Martin before 5 p.m. Then we can wrap up. Yes.
One thing I would add is that I think the press, certainly in the US and maybe around the world, is in a very vulnerable state right now. And I point to one example recently in the US with it happened at CBS 60 Minutes, which has been a premier investigative journalism organization for a long time. And they recently went on air and said that they have this problem with the senior management because they're not having the journalistic independence that they need to be quality, and their executive producer is resigning sort of in protest of this. And what's happening is ownership wants to do a merger, but to do the merger, they need the approval of the Trump administration, and the Trump administration sued the Paramount for $20 billion to try to intimidate them after they aired an interview with Kamala Harris that the Trump people didn't like. And they sued them, and it interpreted this in some contorted way that it was defamation of Trump. It was really bizarre, but the lawsuit is there, and Paramount has said, well, we'd pay $20 million. And they're trying to negotiate this, and all the while, the people at 60 Minutes are trying to do journalism, and they're feeling hamstrung by this. So I think that's part of the big problem right now that media face is how do they maintain their independence in critical matters when there's this enormous financial and political and legal pressure against them, especially their ownership. So you've got journalists, but then you've got ownership, and ownership is then no longer letting the journalism be independent, or that there's a threat of loss of independence. And then if you throw AI into the mix, there'll be a real temptation to start replacing that journalism with AI-based, because they'll be able to control that. They can control what the AI would be generating, the stories it would report on, the sources it would use, the perspective that it might provide. So I think journalism is a very vulnerable position right now, and this could be a critical juncture for freedom of press in the US and maybe around the world.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So that's a good a good addition to this conversation. Vim Martin, are you there? Vim Martin, are you there? Okay, let's Fathia, some pattern shots from you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. You want me to speak about the final word about?
Yes, because we're
Okay.
wrapping up.
Okay. So as we all, I think, say that the AI is important, press freedom is important for journalists. We We are here in Egypt focusing in two things related to AI and social media and all this new technology and press and journalism. First of all, training, more and more training for all journalists to know how to deal with the new technologies, how to use AI and technologies to do better job, to be a helpful tool to in their work. Because we have lack of training on these issues, but there is many organizations, even here from in Egypt or from outside, are funding many trainings for journalists, working journalists, and also for students, because we have an issue with the curriculum at university, because they're still teaching the traditional journalism, press and TV and radio, and now they are trying to teach new media, but usually we don't have calibers enough to teach or to train journalists on these new technologies or this new media actually. So this is our first part, is training. We are focusing on training on every aspects. And the second thing is regulation, how to use this technology, how to benefit from new media without losing accuracy, without losing ethics of journalism. Because we, as some of you speak about civil citizen journalism, and with social media, citizen journalism are actually, they are doing our job, but without fact checking, without checking the accuracy of the information, they just publish it on social media. So we are trying now focusing more on ethics and to regulate social media, even because of some of journalists with the financial crisis of some newspaper. They are, and we are working with on all our both our works, or try to marketing our stories on social media, and with this kind of live videos, we lose even professional journalists losing ethics. When we are going live, speaking anything, speak to anybody without asking permissions, without asking for accuracy, just open the mobile phone and go on. So, and this, it is Facebook pay monies for this, for newspapers, so they need money. So go on, go live, and what happened happens after. So we discuss it later, Yani. So we are now discussing these issues. We try to train, do training for journalists, professional journalists and students, and we try to regulate our, not just regulation by law, it's just how to yani, encourage journalists to be more accurate, to check the journal, to do their job as we learned before, to do the ethic, to be maintained with the ethics of the media. So as I said before, training and ethics is more important now when we're dealing with new media and AI. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, this aspect of media education is very important, because I realize how important it is, especially in the global south. Last summer, I was at a college in Nigeria where I had a 90-day fellowship sponsored by Carnegie, and I realized how media education can be very important, even in connection with the faculty and students. There is so much need for that training you talked about. So we need to really come up to speed with some of these emerging developments, they're really lacking. So that's a very important idea you brought up. So I'm going to put Francisco Bozana Benz on a speakerphone. He was able to call me, but there's still some noise. I hope you can bear with him. Francisco, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, I think that there are a series of issues that have to do with the context, which is that financial capital has taken over the media. I won't be in detail because this is echo. Then we have fake news, Trumpism, and AI. I have put a publication of mine on the chat. Which you can download. And there is a link also to Daniel Inerarity, who is a European authority on AI and democracy. We have to see this problem related to cultural and social change. And the main thing that we require against the enemies of freedom of press is social unity. And a development of an alternative vision of the future, which the opposition right now does not have. Please, Uchenna, send me the video, which I will distribute of today's discussion. And sorry for the technical problems. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So at least we were able to capture some ideas from Francisco. He talks about financial capital that has taken over the media. That's so true. We talk about corporate media here in the United States. And they write, of course, often ourselves the media as a capture of the corporate entity, especially when it doesn't represent. But the only thing, the interpretation of that, either on the left or right, is when it doesn't suit their interests. Then, of course, he mentioned the cultural and social change. And one important thing that he talked about also is that the antidote to all those who claim that the media is the enemy is social unity. The extent to which that can be achieved is uncertain, because it may be difficult. I don't know when everyone will have that capacity to come together to fight the enemies of the press. But we'll see how it goes. But at least it's a good proposal, on that note, necessarily, I will really thank all of you for your time. I really appreciate the time you spent with us, very quality time. I'll try to, put together all the views and share it with every participant in this forum and beyond everywhere, especially even like you talked about some of the institutions that we're working with, especially in the Global South, share some of these ideas, which I think they will find very useful. I really thank all of you so much for your time. Thank you so much. John, I agree to you. And John and Fatia, you guys are going to meet in Cairo in June, over the
I'm going to try it because I hope to be there.
I'm waiting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Francisco, for your time as well. And if you were in Africa, I could have pardoned you for having a technical issue, but I thought Madrid should be able to. So, but it can happen anywhere. It happened to me in the UK the other time. In Liverpool. So, and I complained to the technology officer. His response was that that this is not America. I was surprised to hear that comment. So, and I thought you're a developed country. So, is this only America that should have, effective technology? So, it happens all over the time, all the time. Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady, and enjoy your day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Okay. V. Martin, thank you so much also for attending. I know you must be very busy. Okay. Oh, I was waiting for you to sign off. I called you. I thought maybe you switched off. So
Maybe I didn't hear it. I was listening to all your other sign off.
Okay. So because I
know,
you can
you
go
know,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
my flight from Enugu was for 8:30 a.m.
Nah, people.
So the flight didn't leave until 1:30. So it just disrupted everything. While you started, I was still on the road. I mean, racing back to the house.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Wow. Very
So
your contributions were very, very poignant, and I found them very useful. When I put
great.
when I put the report together, you'll be amazed at some of the issues. I'm really impressed. Because what we tried to do was to have these aggregate views from all parts of the world. The other guy that showed up is from Germany. So, but I'm sure I'll still be able to reach out. He works with radio, Deutsche Welle television.
Okay.
That was very, very insightful. And you also presented some, especially this idea, these aspects of issues, because most times it's not just about attacking journalists and all that. The fact you brought this economic challenges, legal issues. Trump
they'll use it like a rope on your neck.
Yes. And
okay.
then
Trump, did he tell anybody anything? But he said we won't fund PPS again. So let's see how.
We are really we're in a terrible shape. I'm telling you honestly, we're in difficult.
As a third world country.
That is
that's your Trump.
Yes, everyone want to copy this guy. Can you imagine suing CBS for $20 billion? Where would they get the money?
Yes. Yes. Then you're attacking Harvard.
You're attacking Harvard.
You're attacking Princeton. You're attacking everybody. And they shouldn't give them money. Money is not your money.
Thank you.
Just because they don't agree with you.
That's all. That's all. And they want.
I hope America will recover.
Well, let's see what happens. The capture is, and nobody has ever seen this type of thing before, and nobody knows where it's going to end. You know why? Because at least for now, even when Congress switches next year, for example, there's a likelihood that he will not even obey Congress, but it's going to be a tough fight. I don't know how he's going to.
Yes,
sir. I don't know what will come out of
it. Is he obeying judiciary?
Nothing.
Is he obeying judiciary?
No.
He obeying judiciary. And now he wants to a third term.
Thank you. No, he's going to try it. I am very sure.
No.
But he's going to try it. But to the extent to which he succeeds, I don't know. And that is why, if you noticed, all the people who are like the Secretary of Defense, whatever he tells him to do, he will do it, because it's not like those days when there were mature people who could tell him no.
Yeah.
Those times are gone. We are in serious trouble. And
Supreme Court is in his pocket.
Yes. That is
the highest one.
That's the saddest part of it, my brother. So in fact, woman meet also near the 80 years old. Also that the problem American the mistake American that's seeing this matter as a human problem, that they have a spiritual issue.
It's spiritual. It's spiritual.
Now I listened to that woman that
might be the 333. I mean 666 we are talking about.
Yeah, that people should pray. That's the only thing that can liberate everyone from the. And if you think about it, it's true. How can someone?
Almost everybody is becoming helpless in this matter.
Everybody go up.
He comes after you. He dissipates you. People who want to buga El Salvador. I bet I call the aka.
Can you imagine? Caught a year ago December.
An American.
And because I got a mandate here, near win election, they completely different. You got
the one for America. As from America, it's good for you.
Oh, yeah, man.
About Trump, right wing. You want to recover your country. Oh yeah, you've recovered it now.
I thought my money and anybody votes today, so I'm going to have it. Okay, I vote to be. Yes. Also, okay, I vote to Canada. Actually, they convert it. Okay, look at the tariff. You go. Farmers
make a bomb fool. You won't think anything through. You just take action. China na akpụghị naanị.
Oh, ask one to go around personal business. Ask not to go to see the office. If idea he got today. But then okay. Get a chief for that. And Emma, all no never control. So he could be an ML since one Korean or general anywhere I've all. That's a query my man can know.
Auto.
So
I need to read that part of
that man, I've never seen. So the man you want you make sauce.
I got
No prayer big save we and yana query. Obakwaka. Can you imagine such a person? They should humiliate all the Republicans. Powerful Republicans. Mitch McConnell, all of them surrenders and no.
Oh, canopy.
Is your
Not just what they bring back. No, Mr. Party, I don't know 1 year. Are you aggressive?
oh, them, my own brother. Thank you so much.